Hello, everyone. Welcome to an all new episode of the Indic Explorer Show. This is your host, Vineet. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Today, we have a very unique and different subject and topic on which we are going to do this show. Uh, the subject is Vastu, the ancient Indian architectural science. And there are a lot of intricacies about this field, and not many people actually know about it in terms of, beyond the usual generic details. So we want to kind of delve deeper into the subject and also look at how Vastu really impacts people's lives, because that's how the Indian sciences look at it. Like, in terms of not just look at it from a rational perspective, but also see what the vibrations around us, what impact it has on people's lives in terms of how they live, what they eat, what impact it has on their attitudes around other people, everything. So, to talk about this subject, I have a very special guest, Savii. Namaste, Savii. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Namaste, and hello. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Yeah. So, you are a trained architect as well as an expert in Vastu. So, tell a little bit about yourself as to how you got into, like after your architecture, how did you actually get your interest in Vastu?
Honestly speaking, Vastu being a subject that so many clients want and so much spoken about in in the practical sense of architecture in India, it's very shocking how it's not been taught or even spoken about in even the top architecture colleges in India. So I graduated from Kamala College of Mumbai, and throughout my 5 years of architecture, we just had one lecture on Vastu, and it's not just this college, like we any college of architecture in India, we do not give Vastu the due diligence that it deserves because it's considered as an ancient science, it's not important. And that's what honestly, that's what my opinion about it also was. However, when I started practicing in the field and, because of other personal reasons that happened thereon. I developed an interest after which, I was just like, why are people going behind it madly so much? I need to know what this is. Like until then, for me, it was just something that, any religious person or an astrologer is practicing and has no science. But then when I saw that practically so many clients are asking for it, and when I saw my close relatives believing in it so much, I was like, let me first read what it is and then make my opinion if I want to or not believe in Vastu. And when I actually did that deep dive in, I my career got changed entirely.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that because most Vastu practitioners are into Vastu, but they don't have an architectural background. So I'm actually kind of curious to know how did that, your understanding of architecture and then knowing Vastu, how did that shape you? Like, were you able to correlate certain things? Did you see certain things differently? How was that experience like?
See, if you look at Vastu, it's a science that developed in India when the modern word architecture did not even exist. So it is an ancient science developed in India to teach you how to construct. So obviously, having the knowledge of architecture gives you, a big edge as compared to the others because Vastu Shastra is all about accuracy. And if you have a background of architecture, you already know how to make a plan, how to do the drawings, etc. So it's very easy for you because understanding concepts or theoretical knowledge is easy. However, the main trick lies in applying it accurately. And having a background in architecture already gives you enough information as to how a building's designed or how to make a plan to begin with. So it does definitely impact a lot.
Did you have any like probably preconceived notions, and after kind of delving into Vastu, did anything change? Like, जो पहले कुछ था, maybe you changed your mind on something or something like that. Can you give an example of that?
I can tell you my journey that will help you understand where I was and where I am today. So initially, when somebody like my first job, I started working in Delhi as an architect, and I always wanted to be an architect since I was in the 10th grade. So finally, I was like, now I'm living my dream. Now I can finally design buildings. So my first project, when I was working in the studio, I got the first project that I was handling. It was a big villa in Noida. Okay, so the client had contacted us to do the interior. For 6 months, the client had come back to us every 15 days saying that, today this Vastu consultant has said this, so now you change this. Today this person has said this, so now you change this. So for 6 months, I was just cursing Vastu and Vastu consultants every single day because I was like, I have studied architecture for 5 years. How can somebody with no knowledge of design tell me how to construct, how to design? So it was very, very, heartbreaking for me. That family I married into, they really believed in Vastu. And listening to their story, it changed my perspective a little as to, how the clients are wanting it. And if, they believe in it so much, maybe I should not just disregard it because of the way I see it, because of the way people have been practicing it. Maybe I should give it at least one chance and try to learn it before I say that it's good or bad or whatever. So when I actually started learning about it, I was not still ready to believe. So initially, so for example, that time I was trying for a job. So I learned some remedy that okay, put this plant in this particular place like this, and you'll get new job opportunities. So it had been 2 months because I started around COVID. That was the time, and I was trying to apply for a new job because I've taken a break from work because of my wedding. So it had been 2 months and I was not getting a job. I did that thing, and within 1 week, I got three random opportunities. So when that happened, I was like, this is a coincidence. I manifested it to happen. It cannot, like, how can you imagine keeping a plant, giving job opportunities, and for 2 months, it's like in 2020 when COVID just began. I was just not ready to believe. I thought it was psychological, which is why I went ahead and I did like 15 free case studies for my relatives and, people around me, whoever I could find, wherein I would not tell them why I'm asking them to do a certain thing. I would just say, do this. And then come back to me after 1 month and tell me what is the difference you felt. Because I wanted to test if it is psychological or not. It's when these people came back and they told me that, we found this difference. We don't know why you told this, but this is the difference we found. When they came back and they gave me the feedback, is when I got the confidence that it's not psychological. It actually works. It has a scientific backing and it practically works. So that's when I, started believing in it truly.
Okay. So, what are the fundamental principles on which Vastu operates? If you can briefly talk about that.
See, Vastu works like in a layman language. If I tell you how a Vastu consultant operates, okay. So, if for example today you go to a doctor and you say that you're feeling you fell off and let's say you're feeling some pain in your arm and you went to the doctor and the doctor will ask you to obviously take an X-ray, right? He'll take an X-ray, you will get a printout. If you look at the X-ray, will you understand anything?
No, no, I wouldn't understand.
If you as a layman, if you look at it, you understand it, not much really, right? But then if the doctor picks it up, he can directly point out that this is the bone where the problem is and this is what needs to be done. Right? So similarly, Vastu Shastra tells you. So, for example, if you're facing any problem in your life, for example, you're saying that there are too many health issues at home, or there's no mental peace at home, I'm not getting job growth, or I'm feeling stuck in my career, etc., etc. If you're feeling any of such problems, if you just give your flow plan to a Vastu consultant, it's like an X-ray. For you, it's just a plan, you don't understand anything. But for a Vastu consultant, it's like the X-ray where he can exactly pinpoint this is the problem, this is why you're facing this, do this and you get it.
So my question here is, do they come to you saying कि मेरा घर देखने आओ और अपना analysis बताओ, या do they come and tell you this is my problem? Because then you kind of know what the problem is from them itself, right? So do you deduce that, or do they tell you that?
Normally, so for example, again, I'll take an example of a medical history. If somebody is constructing a new house, that's a different ballgame altogether because then they're designing from scratch how to do it as per Vastu. Whereas if let's say if somebody's already living in, it's been 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, that they've been living in a particular place, right? Today, if you go for your health body checkup, will everything in the report be 100% wrong? Will everything be 100% accurate? What do you think?
No, I mean, there will be something or the other going wrong, right? Or something that can be
Right?
improved
There is
on,
something.
or yeah.
Exactly. So looking at the report, the doctor might say that okay, these are not in balance, but it's fine, it's normal. At this stage, it's fine. But if these are the things that if you don't work on right now, this might lead to BP or thyroid issues in the future. Similarly, when we check an existing house, we ask the client that what problem are you facing? And on that basis, when we're looking at the layout, we first check that why are they facing that problem and what's the minimum change they need to do so that they can get result for that problem. Apart from that, if we feel that there is something critical which the client did not talk about during the consultation, but which we figured that okay, no, this is also something they might be facing. So in the consultation, we ask them that you also feel something like this. If they say that yes, we do and it is hampering us, we do not know it's linked with Vastu. That's why because a lot of times people don't know what is linked because of certain things. They feel it's normal. If you live in a house since 10 to 15 years, certain things you feel it's normal, like this is how your life has been. So you start feeling it's normal for you. You don't know if it is because of the house or not. So which is why we ask them. And on the basis of their response, we decide if something needs to be done about that.
But like on an empty slate, if you were to walk into a house, uh, I mean, just, kind of playing a devil's advocate here, would you know, looking at a house, what issues they would be going through? Like the opposite of what you're saying. Kind of एक idea मिल जाएगा.
हाँ. See, it's like saying, for example, अगर आपको स्टमक ache है, ठीक है? अगर आपको स्टमक ache है, तो if I give you a paracetamol, उससे सॉल्व होगा प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगा स्टमक एक के लिए पैरासिटामोल तो बना ही नहीं है सिमिलरली तो वी नो कौन सी ऑर्गन पे कौन सी मेडिसिन वर्क करती है राइट वी नो कौन सी टाइप के सिम्टम किस टाइप की प्रॉब्लम इंडिकेट करते हैं देन व्हाट मेडिसिन इज टू बी यूज्ड similarly as per vastu there are every direction is linked with certain attributes of your life. So for example if you say that you're facing relationship issues then you automatically know that the problem might be because of the southwest direction of your house or probably because of the northeast direction of your house because that's what is directly linked with your relationships. If you say that I like everything in my career is okay, but then I face a lot of drawback because of my confidence issues. I'm not able to speak up. So in that case, I particularly know that I need to check the south-southeast direction of your house and I need to fix that and the problem will be solved. So I know which organ, like in this case, it's the direction of your house, which part to target for your problem and give the medicine for. So yes, if we look at the blank slate, looking at where what is, we can tell that these kind of issues you might face if you move to this house.
Based on what you're telling me, I think the best time to invite a Vastu consultant is when you're making a new house or planning to go to a new place, right? Because that's when it's more
Right.
moldable and you can change things and
Exactly.
restructure it, right? But I'm
Exactly.
assuming in most cases people will call after the disease has struck. So घर बन चुका है, प्रॉब्लम फेज हो रहा है, अब क्या करना है? So how does वास्तु fit in with regards to an existing place जहां पे adjustment या छोटा मोटा renovation हो सकता है, but घर का पूरा नींव से तोड़ के फिर से नहीं बना सकते? So how does वास्तु fix that problem?
See, honestly, if I tell you, so I've in the last 4.5 years, I must have seen 1,800 plus clients globally. And in most of the cases, if it was an existing property, they were majorly apartments or houses which were already constructed, like you're saying, where you could not do any construction changes. However, even with interior fixes, for example, changing the curtain color, or for example, changing the location, you can't do any construction change, but you can change where you sit and work in your house, for example. or where you sleep in your house. Instead of sleeping like this, you sleep like this. So there are alterations possible still. If you're spending the entire day in your house in one particular corner, instead of one particular sofa, if I say that sit over here, that doesn't require much of a change. If I say that don't put your documents here, keep your documents here, you will be able to get better results. That doesn't require any, such change. So even without doing construction changes, you can get a lot of benefit. I'm not saying everything can be solved, but you can still get a lot of improvement than what you're facing right
Okay. So, like, I know that Feng Shui is this Chinese, like you'd say a Chinese version of a similar thing, a Chinese traditional way of like architecture and looking at homes and all of that. So, how does Feng Shui Vastu, matlab, I mean, if you would know something about it, how does that, is it similar, different, and how does that fit in? Like, do people also ask for Feng Shui consulting with Vastu?
See, Feng Shui, if you see, like all the other sciences, when Indians traveled from India to China, they left some traces of Vastu over there, which they picked up and they developed as per their local traditions. So we cannot say it is similar to Vastu. It's not. It has a different, because it started from there, but then it developed into much, very different things as compared to what Vastu Shastra is. So you can say it's a Chinese version of Vastu, is what you can understand in a layman's language. That's what it is about. But that also speaks about, balancing the energies in a built environment, etc.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm saying Feng Shui ka bhi requirements aata hai. How, like, how is it like in India? Do people look at Feng Shui as well?
We don't get any, requirements for Feng Shui. But what I feel is, if you go to any gift shop or any such shop which is keeping Vastu or Feng Shui stuff, from a modern perspective, like this is what I feel that people say Vastu Shastra is ancient. We don't want to believe in it. But bamboo lucky plant, we want to keep it in a house because that's Feng Shui. The thing is, the way I feel like it's very sad how we as Indians do not value our culture and our ancient science, which is why, if you go anywhere outside of India, Feng Shui is popular. You go to US, you go to UK, you go to Australia, all of their local people, they follow Feng Shui. A lot of them, they follow Feng Shui. But if you talk about Vastu, not many people outside India, like NRIs do follow it, but you wouldn't find a lot of Americans knowing about it or a lot of Australians knowing about it. Reason being, we did not propagate it as much as they did. It is shocking to know that Vastu Shastra is much older as a science as compared to Feng Shui. But if you go anywhere outside India, you talk to anyone, they would have heard about Feng Shui. But Vastu,
I think we
no.
do a poor job of marketing, and also we ourselves don't value our culture and traditions. I think that's where it starts.
Exactly.
That's the sad part.
Exactly. Like I told you my example, like I being a part of this generation, I was also not ready to believe or, give it one shot that, okay, I need to read about it. My main, I feel as an architect, the way I had seen people practice it or market it that a person with will come in a dhoti or with a tika, like a traditional religious person will come and do certain havan for you, and that's how Vastu is. That's what my image for Vastu was. So, which is why I had this image that this is not scientific. However, when you actually look at the science, it's just the way it has been marketed. It's not like that if you actually read the theory.
So, where do most of your clients come from? Actually, that is what I'm curious to know. Where do people in India or abroad, कहाँ पे लोग वास्तु को ज्यादा मानते हैं, क्या कम मानते? Is there, are there any trends geographically that you've seen?
If we talk about within India, I feel people from Chennai, like people from Chennai, specifically Chennai around Coimbatore, they follow Vastu very strictly. They're very strict about Vastu. If I tell them that you need to place it here, they'll make sure it is done. Like they'll say, you tell us, and we don't like. They are so strict that after a certain point, they wouldn't even care about aesthetics. If you tell them that this is good as per, they're very, very strict about Vastu. People from Hyderabad also follow Vastu. We get a lot of clients from Gujarat as well. Because, see, the thing about Vastu is if somebody has gotten results in the past, once you get results, you believe it. It's like homeopathy. If you've tried homeopathy and if it has worked for you in the past, then you believe in it. Now you have to get it done. For any project you're doing, you have to get it done. It's like that. When we talk about the northern part of India, I feel they do not have that much depth in Vastu. They feel upar se kara do. Not a lot of people are so I would say open or willing, or I don't know, like there's a mixed audience obviously, but in general, the kind of strictness that the people from the south have for Vastu, people from the north, they're not so strict. They're like, ठीक है हमें थोड़ा बहुत देख लो मतलब it's not so strict comparatively. If I talk about outside India, I personally feel that we do a lot of clients who are NRIs. They usually come either from US or Australia or Dubai. These are certain places where we usually get our outside India clients following wanting to do it as per Vastu. I feel people outside India, they value the science much more as compared to people in India. Like in India, because of the way it has been marketed, and like it's very sad that as a science, like imagine a doctor doing an operation without a degree of MBBS. It's dangerous, right? It's dangerous. However, any science, like for example, science, Vastu or astrology, these sciences are extremely powerful. If done correctly, they can do wonders. If done incorrectly, it can also take you down. So it is extremely, extremely, it's just like a doctor's profile. You cannot have a doctor without practice, which is why what happens is in India, you get a lot of Vastu consultants, but then because and as I mentioned earlier, it's all about accuracy. Okay, so there are 16 directions that are there as per Vastu, and each direction is around 22.5 degrees. So when I'm checking my direction, even if I make an error of 5 degree, all the analysis changes. So which is why, as a newbie or as somebody who does not have knowledge of architecture, it is very easy to make a mistake. Like if you try checking your own house directions using compass, it's very easy to go wrong because you need practice or you need proper softwares. Which is why people in India, they specifically, when people say कि थोड़ा बहुत ही करना है, so then they tend to listen to anybody and everybody they find, or they'll watch some random videos online and try to implement it themselves. It's as dangerous as googling a medicine that okay, these are my symptoms, which medication should I take, and eating that. Versus if it is somebody outside India and if they, so they can, there can be two cases. Either they say that they don't believe in Vastu, but if they do believe in Vastu, they make sure that they get it done professionally correctly. That's the difference that I found. Whereas in India, people also because there is availability of also so many consultants that they are ready to go with the cheaper option or whichever ठीक है बस मन की संतुष्टि के लिए करा लिया doesn't matter सही हुआ या नहीं हुआ. It's like that.
Yeah, I think legitimacy is very important when it comes to Vastu, even astrology for that matter.
Exactly.
So, you mentioned a lot of problems that people face on a regular basis. Vastu can solve them. Like कुछ common problems जैसे relationship issues और let's say money problem or career issues. इसका क्या usually what is the general way by which these things are solved? Can you share some
See,
insights?
for example, if let's say there are too many misunderstandings in the house, okay, let's say since the time you move to this particular house, you feel कि सब कुछ ठीक चल रहा है लाइफ में, मतलब फाइनेंशियली इतनी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, हेल्थ वाइज भी ठीक है, बट स्टिल ना whenever you go to bed or just in general दिमाग खाली नहीं रहता, you're still not feeling peace in the mind, or randomly misunderstandings हो रही है, nobody, it's nobody's fault, but कुछ किसी ने कुछ बोला, किसी ने कुछ समझ लिया, like those situations happen. If something like this is happening with you constantly, that means you need to check the northeast direction of your house. This is one of the most critical directions, I feel, because this direction is directly linked with your clarity. So if there are any issues over here, for example, if you have a toilet over here, if you have a kitchen over here, what will happen is, even if you're going through a problem ना, आप identify नहीं कर पाओगे कि ये problem है. Like if you talk to, when I talk to such clients, if I ask them कि how is everything, या are you facing any issue, या in general if I talk to them, सब कुछ ठीक चल रहा है. When I talk to them further, I'll get to know, for example, they have a unmarried daughter who's 35 years old. शादी के लिए ट्राई कर रहे हैं 10 साल से, शादी नहीं हो रही है, बट कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. और किसी कॉन्स्टेंटली हर महीने कोई ना कोई हॉस्पिटल जा रहा है, बट कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. कॉन्स्टेंटली घर में मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग हो रही है, बट कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. सो दे आर नॉट, एंड इट्स नॉट देयर फॉल्ट, दे आर नॉट एबल टू सी दैट यस आई एम गोइंग थ्रू अ प्रॉब्लम, which is a bigger problem, because unless you identify कि problem है, आप solution पे work ही नहीं कर सकते. तो that is one of the most you know critical things. I wouldn't say common, I would say critical things कि ये mistake तो नहीं होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि यार थोड़ा सा कम पैसे is okay, थोड़ा सा relationship issue is okay, but if you can't identify ना कि क्या problem है, तो फिर वो आपके हर aspect of life में problem होगी, आपको समझ ही नहीं आएगा.
From a career and money perspective, kya usually like if someone, let's say, have those issues, what do you usually, what is exactly looked at?
If somebody says कि let's say boss से issues हो रहे हैं, like I'm not able to get promoted because my boss doesn't like me, or I have issues with my boss, which is why promotion नहीं हो रहा. Or somebody says that I joined the job और every 6 months में मुझे change करनी पड़ रही है, stable नहीं हो रहा है मेरा career. If is type के issue somebody is facing, then they need to check the southwest direction of their house. If there are any, if there's a garden over here, if यहाँ पे plants रखे हुए हैं, or if there is a toilet in this particular direction, तो this is something that you need to strictly avoid in the southwest, क्योंकि उससे फिर आपके career में it will cause instability, it will cause issues at the workplace with your seniors, etc. तो वो issue आ सकता है. If you say that you're trying for a job, but you're not getting good opportunities. A lot of times you're, trying for a job, but you're not getting the right kind of opportunities. In that case, you need to check the north direction of your house. Ki north direction mein, you shouldn't have like a red, pink, orange. You shouldn't have these color tones in that direction. You should not have a toilet over here. You should not have a storeroom over here, because if you have any of these, any opportunity that is supposed to come to you, it won't come. All the opportunities in your life come from the north direction. So if there are such issues in this direction, आपको कितना भी आप ट्राई कर लो, सही opportunity आएगी ही नहीं.
Something that seems to appear a lot is toilets. So कहाँ होना चाहिए toilets को?
See, toilet, if you see, toilet, if you see, it's when we talk about toilet, there are basically three things in a washroom, right? There's a sink, there's a bathing area, and there's a toilet seat. When you're using sink or a bathing area, that can be anywhere. It's not much of a problem. Reason being, because you're only washing your face or you're washing your body. So the water that is coming out from here, there's nothing filthy about it. It's just water that you're cleaning your body. Like, so there's nothing filthy about it. Whereas the way you use your toilet seat, the WC, you're sort of disposing of the waste from your body that you do not need. So it's like a disposal activity. So if I do it in a good direction, which is, let's say, responsible for getting me opportunities in life, it will dispose of opportunities. If it is meant for maintaining good relationships, it will dispose my relationships. So there are three directions essentially where you can have a toilet. One is east southeast, the other is south southwest, and the third one is west northwest. So these three directions are good directions to have a toilet seat basically.
Got it. Got it. Huh. So, matlab, generally, so you've spoken about micro in terms of homes and all of that. But in terms of macro, like, are there any large projects that you know of that are in India that are Vastu compliant, like a large building or a structure, or a famous infrastructure project or something like that? Like, कुछ example है इसका?
You look at any ancient temples, they're built as per Vastu. You check Tirupati Balaji temple, you check Padmanath Swami temple. These two temples are one of the richest temples even today. And if you notice in both the cases, they have a water body towards the northeast. If you check the art of living, the place of Sri Ravi Shankarji in it's close to Bangalore, I think. That is also made as per Vastu. Forget about big buildings. I'll give you another example. If I ask you, tell me one state where the best businessmen in India come from. One or two states where the best businessmen come from. People with the best business mindset in India.
Gujarat and Rajasthan.
Which state would come to, right? These are like people like Gujarat, people from Gujarat and Rajasthan are known for their business skills, right? Whereas if I ask you which part of India focuses the maximum on education,
Southern India.
right? And if I say IAS is one of the toughest exams in the country, would you agree with me? But then if the southern part of India is focusing the maximum on education, then why is it that people from Bihar are cracking most
I
IAS?
think there is a different reason for that.
If we argue on the fact, no, no, if we argue on the fact that, it might be because of the, this minority or, the application system, etc., then I will further ask you that you look at the map of America, the map of US, similar combination you'll be able to find over there that the western side is more business dominant and the eastern side is more politically dominant. So it's not a
Okay.
coincidence. You can see the same thing even in Australia. The reason why I'm telling you this is that Vastu Shastra is not just applicable to buildings, it's applicable to city to country levels as
Hmm.
well.
Makes sense. Actually,
So
even
similarly, for example, if I ask you,
yeah, I mean, I was to come to
yeah,
think of it, the UK also, London on the eastern side, but again, business is also on that side. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Does it hold true in all cases? I know that in America and Australia, that what you mentioned is true,
right.
but does that hold true in all cases?
We will have to, these are few things that I have observed and researched about. There is still an ongoing study around this. When you understand Vastu in depth, you will understand that Eastern direction in general is more supportive of government related work, whereas the Western direction is in general more supportive of business related work.
Okay, that's interesting. So मतलब capitalism and yeah, वो perspective आ जाता है कि government, right? Okay, that's a new one. I didn't know of it at all. In terms of nature and environment and ecological balance, Vastu का क्या take है on that? Like, in terms of ecology and environmental friendliness.
Vastu Shastra is built on the science of how the sun moves, how will the wind come in your house, how during the day you will use the space. So if you build a house as per Vastu, like for example, traditionally southeast is one of the best directions for a kitchen. Okay, logically, if you see your sun, so if let me use this for reference. So if let's say this is my north, this is my south, this is my west, this is my east. Okay. So if this is my east, my sun is going to rise from here and it's going to move like this, which is here. So when my sun moves 5, 6, 7, depending on which season it is, I'll see my sun from here. If my kitchen is in the southeast, that means from 9 a.m. to 12, 1 o'clock, I'll get direct sunlight in my kitchen. Which is why, so there are multiple things around this. Your food should get natural light, it is good for the body, etc. Secondly, from an environment perspective, if we see, if a house should be designed in such a way that during the day you don't have to rely on, lights, artificial lights or artificial ventilation, right? So if you are constructing your kitchen over here, obviously it depends on site constraints, if it is possible or not. If there's another house here, obviously you need to see like other things. But then I'm talking about in general. If you construct it over here, you will have it throughout the day. So morning 9 to 11, 12, 1, you'll have good sunlight over here. Whereas if you do it anywhere else, like if you do it around the southwest, it is too harsh light. If you have a southwest direction wherein you have a big window in your house, you would notice that that room remains hot in your house. So you rather shut the curtains in that corner.
दोपहर का सन बहुत ज्यादा आएगा, राइट? दोपहर का सन, लाइक आफ्टरनून सन विल हिट द
Yeah,
हार्डेस्ट.
exactly. तो वो 2-3 बजे के बाद वाला जो होता है, that comes around the southwest direction. So that southwest and west से आपको बहुत harsh sunlight आएगा. So if you have like a French window or a complete slide in that direction, your AC bills are going to go rocket high.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Versus if you have it toward the northern direction where you don't get direct sunlight, so you will get good, nice filtered light and no direct light. तो उधर AC का बिल नहीं बढ़ेगा फिर.
Why do they say कि साउथ साइड में पैर फेस नहीं करना चाहिए सोने के टाइम? मतलब बोलते हैं कि वो, आई डोंट नो, आई हैव हर्ड दिस कि शव उठाते हैं किसी के मरने के बाद, तो वो लेग शुड बी फेसिंग साउथवर्ड, सो दैट इज व्हाई इट्स लाइक अ साइन ऑफ, you know, death or some major illness or something like that. I don't know how true it is, but is there a vastu reason for sleeping with legs towards south?
The thing is, if you look at the Earth's magnetic field, according to that, when you are sleeping, if your head is towards the south and if your feet is towards the north, that's the best situation because it helps in the blood circulation in your body. However, if that is not possible, you can have your head towards the west or east because it doesn't oppose anything. But then, because of the way the magnetic field is, if the head is good in south, obviously, if I flip it, then it causes a repulsion in my body if I sleep in the opposite way. So, because of this repulsion, what happens is if you sleep like that for one day, nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. But if you sleep like that over a period of time, let's say 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, like that's your fixed bedroom, what will happen is because of this constant repulsion every day, you might develop a constant headache, specifically when you sleep, because of this repulsion in your body. Depending on your age and your other health factors, let's say if you are somebody who's young and don't have much health problems right now, you might not feel much of a difference. However, if let's say you're somebody who has migraine issues already, and if because of this you're developing a headache, for you it can become a very big problem because you have migraine already. So, which is why in general it is suggested you avoid it because for health, if you sleep 1-2 days, it's okay. But then in the long term perspective, it is not suggested because of this reason.
Okay. The other thing is इंडिया में ही अगर आप देख लो, ग्लोबली भी, बट इंडिया में भी, देर इज अ लॉट ऑफ वेरिएशन इन टर्म्स ऑफ क्लाइमेट, सीजन. कुछ जगह पे बारिश ज्यादा होता है, कहीं पे गर्मी ज्यादा है, ठंड कहीं ज्यादा है. सो ये क्लाइमेटिक डिफरेंसेस को हाउ डज वास्तु हैंडल दैट? लाइक how much of the external environment also influences the vastu, like what you would prescribe?
See, the thing is the basics, like I gave you an example, that these the Western being business dominant and the Eastern being politically dominant. India, Australia, US, the weathers are very different. They lie in different hemispheres, but it's still true, right? So the thing is, yes, the natures and climates are different, but the basics remain the same. For example, if we are saying that your northeast, like so in any place, in any building,
be it any sort of building, any sort of scale, it's usually suggested that you keep your northeast direction as the lowest and your southwest as the heaviest. So you construct on the southwest side of the plot. Now, this holds true. This is a basic principle. It holds true irrespective of where you go on the earth. Okay. Now, when we talk about places like Canada, which are very cold, in that cases, obviously, you need to see that you need that harsh sun because for them it is not so harsh. You need it to keep yourself warm. So in that case, like for example, we say that towards the south and towards the west, you should have lesser windows or lesser openings as compared to north or east. In India, it makes sense because of the heat, etc. But if it's a cold place, what we do is you can have openings in the south and west as well, but proportionately. So if in the north I am having a 4 meter wide opening, in the south I'll have a 3 meter wide opening. Proportionately, I'll still keep it smaller so that I'm still getting the warmth, the heat that I want, but then the basics are still getting followed. Similarly, like for example, I said that for mental clarity, northeast is one very critical direction that you should remember. Now, irrespective of where you go in the entire world, if there is a toilet in the Northeast, people will definitely face issues with regards to their mental peace, no matter where you go. So this basic principle, it remains true irrespective of the climate. For the climate, so that's why so practically what happens is the person who's doing Vastu, he has no idea about design, and the person who's designing, they have no idea about Vastu. So what ends up happening is now the client wants both. So the client talks to the Vastu person, he tells him this. Now the architect needs to, work on the design to match his needs. However, if the designer himself knows both the things, so they're able to manage that, okay, this is the basic principle, but I know that for this climate, this is needed. So they can follow the basic principle while making sure that the design is more functional for the person who's living.
Yeah, मेक सेंस. नहीं तो वो वही हो जाता है कि सीबीआई और लोकल पुलिस के बीच में जुरिडिस्टिक्शन का बैटल कि ये वास्तु वाला क्या बोलेगा आर्किटेक्चर को. आर्किटेक्चर पर्सन विल बी लाइक व्हाई आर दे गेटिंग इनटू. मतलब I can see
Hmm.
that happening a lot. So but in your line of work I'm sure a lot of people have like wrong perceptions या Google search मार के काफी आ जाते होंगे. What are some popular myths in Vastu that you would like to bust? Like two, three, like very popular myths that
Hmm.
that are completely wrong, but people believe in them like as if that is true.
People believe that your body should not reflect in the mirror when you're sleeping. You must have
Yeah.
heard of it. Ki you should not have a mirror right in front of your bed. It's actually a myth. The truth is, if I talk from a Vastu standpoint, if let's say, so there are certain places where the mirror is good, there are certain places where the mirror is not good. For example, a northeast direction, you can have a mirror. Let's say my bedroom, again, let me just pick this up. So let's say this is my northeast, okay? Let's say this is my northeast. Let's say my bedroom is here. My bedroom is between north and northeast, and my bed is placed on the in the north side. Okay. Now this is my northeast wall, and I've placed a mirror over here. And my bed is in north, so bedroom in north is good. Let's say it's a children's bedroom, and there's a mirror in front of it where the body is getting reflected. But if this mirror is coming in the northeast, it is not from a Vastu standpoint. It cannot be negative for you. No matter what part of your body is getting reflected, it cannot be negative for you. Reason being, a mirror acts, it's like a water element, it reflects. It's like a water element object. So when you understand Vastu, there's something called as an element theory. Like in the universe also we learn that there are 5 elements that the universe is made up of. Similarly, as per Vastu, any space is made up of 5 elements. And Northeast is linked with the water element. So which is why even if you place a mirror over there, which is reflecting any damn thing, it cannot give you like you cannot suddenly fall ill because of that mirror. There might be some other issue in the room. However, from an architect's perspective, if I tell you, psychologically, if you are sleeping on the bed, if you're sleeping on this bed, and if there's one window here, if you're sleeping over here, and let's say the window is open in the middle of your night, in the night, maybe you saw a bad dream or whatever. If you open your eyes, and because of some breeze from here, you accidentally look at yourself in the mirror, you might just get startled in the middle of your night, like, you know, psychologically, that might happen. बट वास्तु वाइज इफ दीज आर द डायरेक्शंस, तो उससे आपको कैंसर हो जाए या ये हो, इट कैन नॉट हैपन, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. So that's one very very popular myth that
Any others?
people believe in. Another popular myth is कि साउथ फेसिंग घर तो
Yeah,
बुरे ही होते हैं,
I've heard that a lot.
राइट? साउथ
Huh.
लाइक साउथ फेसिंग घर तो लेने ही नहीं है. यू नो व्हाट, fun fact, specifically Hyderabad में क्या होता है, like there was this one client who came to me and he said कि I want to buy an apartment and ये builder के layouts हैं, साउथ फेसिंग, वेस्ट फेसिंग, ईस्ट फेसिंग, नॉर्थ फेसिंग, चारों फेसिंग अवेलेबल है. ही हिमसेल्फ डिसाइडेड बाय डिफॉल्ट कि मेरे को साउथ फेसिंग तो लेना ही नहीं है, तो बचे ये तीन. ईस्ट फेसिंग ना हैदराबाद में बहुत महंगे बिकते हैं, तो बिल्डर सेम पीस का ही इज चार्जिंग मी मोर, तो मुझे ईस्ट नहीं लेना. अब आप वेस्ट और नॉर्थ में से बता दो मैं कौन सा लूं. ठीक है. व्हेन आई लुक्ड एट द ब्रोशर, द प्लान वाज लाइक दिस एंड नॉर्थ ऐसे बना हुआ था. व्हेन आई एक्चुअली चेक द डायरेक्शंस ऐसे थे, 45 डिग्री का डिफरेंस था. So if the builder was saying it's a north facing apartment, it was actually a northwest facing apartment. तो वो अगर साउथ था तो वो साउथ ईस्ट फेसिंग अपार्टमेंट था. इट वॉजंट अ साउथ फेसिंग अपार्टमेंट. तो ए, आपको जो लग रहा है कि मैं ईस्ट फेसिंग ले रहा हूं, वो ईस्ट फेसिंग है भी नहीं. तो इट वॉज अ बिग स्कैम बेसिकली. व्हेन आई चेक्ड दैट, आई सेड कि ये डायरेक्शन ही 45 डिग्री का एरर है, आप इसके बेसिस पे तो जा ही नहीं सकते हो. So that is one thing. Secondly, the thing is, yes, there are myths around south facing houses. The reason for that is south facing entrances are of two kinds, okay? They're either extremely good, like they're so good that you will become the biggest industrialist. If they are bad, they will be so bad that, सब कुछ खत्म हो जाएगा. So south facing houses could give you extreme results depending on the internal vastu of the house. If you are aware, but if you follow the general way of designing, like for example, what will happen is, if this is a south facing house, this is my north, this is my, let's say, west, this is east. So by default, I'll have my bedroom and toilets in the northeast corner, because private areas अपन पीछे रखेंगे and front area open रखेंगे. तो if we follow the general way of design, तो south facing plot पे सब गलत बैठता है. However, if you know the principles and if you consciously design, then you can avoid these mistakes. It's possible. It will not look like a regular home, but you can create a good design even for a south facing plot.
Okay. थोड़ा अलग होगा, मतलब बस वही है, the general.
थोड़ा अलग, like, yeah, instead of having a front garden, you might have a private backside garden.
Got it. Nice. Finally, in a rapidly changing modern world, how do you see the relevance of Vastu principles in modern architecture and design? How do you see that?
I feel that we as I'm talking about the architecture fraternity. We as architects, me being a part of it, we always try to run behind making aesthetically beautiful buildings, beautiful homes for our clients. But I feel that if after moving to this house, the client is having to go to the hospital every month, or he's getting a divorce after moving to this house, or if his business is going through a downfall after moving to this house, then that beauty is of no use. So I feel there should be a right balance between both the things. We can't say you blindly do Vastu, because if it is climate specific, you need to keep those things also in mind. You can't just mindlessly design. However, the right balance is required. I feel that there is a lack of knowledge around, specifically also because the Council of Architecture, the main body in India, they do not focus about, in colleges to teach this subject, for example. There should be more awareness around this. We are trying to do our bit by trying to educate more and more architects, more and more people from the real estate around this subject, because it's them who are designing the buildings. So if we can, right now what happens is the client moves to a house. After they face issues in their life, that's when they get an awareness. Oh, Vastu is important, or it can impact so much. Whereas if the person who's actually making the building, if they know that yes, this is important and this is how I need to design, people will suffer less. It's easier to do the fixing when you're designing than doing it later. So we are trying to do our bit. I run in collaboration with another platform where we take advanced Vastu workshops for architects and people from real estate background to give them a basic idea as to how can they design as per Vastu, which gives them enough flexibility to design on any particular site using the Vastu principles that can help them not just create a beautiful design as per light and ventilation, but help their clients lead a better life.
Right. I think that's where it all is, right? Like the impact that it has on people's lives. I think that's the main thing, that
Exactly.
the takeaway that I take from this conversation. So, yeah, with that, we come to the end of today's show. It was a great chat with you. So, I hope it was the same for you as well.
Likewise, before we end for this thing, I just had one gentle tip for anybody who might be watching this video. Uh, like a lot of times, people have a liking towards purple tone. They tend to get their rooms, or the particular parts of the house colored in purple. However, I have specifically seen a lot of cases where just because of this color, people have faced massive health issues, like not small, but massive health issues just because of this color. So, therefore, my suggestion to any viewers who's watching this is that never ever get a purple color painted on any part in your house. And the reason for that is because purple color is mixed with red and blue, which is fire and water. So, which is why
Okay.
when you use this color, so it's a mixture of these two colors. When you use this color in your house, irrespective of the any direction in your house, it does not give good results. It can give you small or big problems, so you rather avoid.
Great. So that's a pro tip. So hopefully the viewers will be mindful of that. It's important to avoid the mistakes, and that's
Right.
first, and then you look at how you can improve the quality of your life. So with that, we come to the end of the show. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, see you around.